first of all, it's really nice to have you here. And Dedra and Syril are original characters, and they both share that they might be perceived as villains, but at the end of the day, they are competent people that try to perform well at their jobs, which is something that really can relate to the audience. So do you think that the fact that they are not introduced as pure evil, that ambiguity, will help to make them more relatable from the get-go?
I think that it's really, we've been talking about this a lot, because the thing about, I think, both of them is that they only want what's best for their world, but their world happens to exist within a fascist system. So they're both people who, what they have in common with the rebels is that they're sort of staging a rebellion in their own system. So they want to get the Empire to understand that it's at risk. So everything they're doing between them, like separately and then possibly together, is to advance the Empire. So initially, I think what I love about Dedra and what Tony has written is that initially you sort of are on her side because she's a woman in a man's world and yada yada. But then you realize what she's capable of in order for her to get to where she wants to go to. What she's capable of is some really terrible acts of maybe not violence, but like her behavior has to, because it's a fascist regime, her behavior is pretty toxic. But she doesn't think that it's toxic because she thinks she's going to save the world. So that's the dangerous thing about people like this, isn't it? You know, they are so believing that what they're doing is for the greater good. And I mean, we see that throughout history across the world. If you interview somebody who's at the head of a fascist regime, they're not going to say what we're doing is bad. They're going to say what we're doing is for the greater good. And those are the people you have to watch out for, because you might even like them for a while.
And that's the strength of Tony's writing, is that he's created these psychologically acute, really three-dimensional characters across the board. So the people on the Empire side, as well as the people on the Rebel side, are all
shady,
chiaroscuroed, you know? It's like light and shade, it's messy, it's gritty, it's conflicted, and they're all trying to figure out who they are, actually, and they make
it's why Cassian
good decisions and bad decisions.
Yeah, it's why Cassian is so amazing. At the beginning of the movie, he kills one of his allies, and you have to sort of hold that alongside he sacrifices himself for the greater good at the end. And those two things have to exist in one character, and that's what makes characters so fascinating. And as actors, it makes it so interesting to play, because they're not just the mustache twirling villains. You know, they can be really fun to play, but when you're playing somebody that the audience gets really conflicted with, then it's really fun, because they should never really know where they stand. They should like you and hate you, and that's what you hope for. And I think Tony has given us the gift of being allowed to play characters like that.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that makes Andor, that even though it's a prequel of Rogue One and it's part of a huge franchise, it's a thing in a bigger universe, it manages to feel like something new. So do you think that Star Wars fans will be as appealed as maybe other people that usually don't pay much attention to this universe?
I think this is exactly what Andor has
and
the capability to do. And what Tony wants to do is actually open the Star Wars universe out to people who wouldn't normally watch it.
Yeah.
And so you have, I mean, he's written a thriller, a Star Wars incredible 12-episode series, while also being incredibly domestic and intimate, and a socio-political drama, a family drama. He's pulling in everything that we deal with in everyday life,
and he's putting it
into this universe.
Yeah,
and it's super successful.
Yeah. Did you like it? Are you a Star Wars fan?
Yeah, I like it. I'm not the biggest fan, but I like Star Wars, and this really feels like something that hasn't been done before. It doesn't look like a Star Wars, and that's a good thing, because it's a part of the universe, but you also feel like it adds something new, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's really good to hear. Awesome. That's the feedback we're getting from everyone, which is really exciting, because that's what you hope when you go into a project. You hope that it's going to be something that appeals to people. Like I'm really aware I'm being brought into a world that you have to have a lot of respect for. This Star Wars universe has been created and sustained and maintained for, 60 years by the people that are fans of it. And so to go in and try and say, well, we know better and we're going to do... That's disrespectful, right? You want to go in with an offering that's saying, look, this is what we, under the guidance of someone like Tony Gilroy, who's brilliant, and Diego, this is what we offer to the universe. And you hope so much that it's something that appeals. And I can't tell you, like, to be interviewed like by hundreds, what seems like thousands of people now, just this morning, and hear feedback like that is really it's satisfying. It's also a huge relief, because it would be terrible if everybody was pretending that they liked it and they didn't. But yeah, it feels like, oh my God, that's really great that we're part of something that's offering something a little new. It doesn't have to, it's not saying what the other universe was doing is wrong. It's just saying, here's something else that you can do. That feels like such a privilege.
Thank you so much, Kyle, Denise. The show is great, really, and I hope I can see you in season 2. So have a really nice day.